All right, moving into season 2. Now, I seen this a lot online. People think this is the worst season, which I think is untrue.
Not anymore.
It wasn't before either. It wasn't before either. And here's why. I think a lot of what we know about the show comes from season 2. A lot of the really cool things. And here's some specific one. First, I want to get some weird annoyances out of the way as well.
Yeah, I think we get the elephant out of the room out of the way.
The worst episode? Well, it used to be the worst episode. That was... There
still is the worst episode, buddy.
It probably is, just in terms of how sheerly boring it is. Now, the problem is, and we'll get into this when we talk about season 5, is I think this season was highly elevated by the fact that you could just skip that episode and nothing would happen. And it didn't feel important. The fact that they make it important again brought the season down significantly for me, because I would just literally skip that episode. It did not even register on my radar.
If you skip it, the only thing that changes is you just don't know how 11 got a new hairdo. Like, that's the only thing that changes if you skip that episode.
It doesn't matter. Like,
it really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So much of non-consequence happened in that.
That happens 10 times in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And then I felt like the Duffer Brothers were like,
what?
Over my dead body, will they skip this episode? I will make it so if someone has to watch the show, they have to watch that episode.
It's so dumb. I like how they took Barb, Justice for Barb, and they not only remembered it, but they forced that into every episode, which was annoying. I think that was kind of frustrating, but I think it is cool. It forced them to have kind of consequences for Nancy and incorporate that into her character, which upon reviewing the earlier seasons, I used to love Nancy, and upon further review, it's because I think she's pretty hot. I don't think she's a really good character. In fact, I think I was disillusioned. She kind of sucks, but I think in season 2, we get some really good sides of Nancy with how much she cares about Barb, as well as we get Jonathan and Nancy kind of for the first time. And then they bring in Murray as well, who is, yes, annoying at times in subsequent seasons, but I think he's a pretty fun character. I do appreciate him. I appreciate how skeptical he is. This is contradicted later, but I think it's a great establishment. Now,
and may I add, Murray is another one of those characters you see in season 1 for I think 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? He's at the very
really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that.
He's in Hopper's office, and in that scene, you learn everything you need to know about Murray. He's talking about conspiracy theories and why he believes them, and then he's very just Murray, and then he leaves. And
I think that's the beginning of season 2.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty
sure Murray's in season 1.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I could see it potentially. Because Hopper calls him in season 2, and he moves into Barb's house. Yeah, so it felt like they knew each other before. That's why I could see it being in season. If it's not in season 1, that tracks. But
never mind. Okay. It was the very beginning of season 2.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Max and Billy are introduced. Billy again becomes incredibly pivotal later. Max though this season is smug and annoying, and in the first time watching this, I hated Max. And I think every time I watch season 2 afterwards, I really do not like Max in this season. I feel like part of why she's there is to give Lucas something to do. Because Mike is invested with 11, Will is seeing some weird stuff, tripping balls. He is also gay. And also, Dustin has Dart, his little slug boy, which honestly is one of my favorite parts of the entire show. A lot of people don't agree, but I love him raising the tiny slug. I think it's hilarious, and I think we get a lot of Dustin from that. But I feel like Max is kind of introduced as to give something to Lucas to do, because I don't think he has that much to do. Now, this is also the season where we get Steve and Dustin, which is massive. I think that is hands down one of the best relationships in the entire show. I think this is what kind of starts, in my eyes, of the 4 kids. Dustin is probably my favorite, and a lot of that has to do with season 2. This is when we start getting furthering the trope of side characters that are introduced probably to get killed off. But I still think Bob Newby is one of my favorite characters in the show as well. I love
Bob's
Sean
great.
Astin, but I think it was kind of fun to see how dysfunctional the Byers family is, and by inserting him in, you do get Jonathan, Will, and Joyce in some different scenarios, although they are oddly echoing season 1 in certain cases, especially with Joyce. I feel like a lot of her arc is repeating her arc again in season 1, which is a problem I have. Another side character that I think is really good is Dr. Owens, Paul Reiser's character. I don't know where he was in season 5, but seasons 2 through 4, he's a pretty pivotal part, and I think he's genuinely a really, really good character. I
love Bob.
Yeah, the scene where Bob
that
dies.
is the saddest death in Stranger Things.
I agree. He was a pure soul. He did nothing wrong.
He's just so kind.
Yeah.
And like you get to see the Byers as like a semi-functional family when Bob's there. And like I feel like that's when you see Joyce as like an actually happy human being. Just like it's just so good. And then they had to kill him.
Here's another problem I have with this season. I think this starts to usher in the deconstruction of Hopper. I think he's noticeably less intelligent this season. I love the pumpkin patch bit. I think aesthetically it's so cool, but I think it's absurd and kind of out of character for him to do a lot of that stuff by himself. Especially to go into the tunnels alone, I think is a little ridiculous. It also is frustrating in a world building sense, how in the scene where Bob dies, they're in a lab with a lot of fire equipment, which is established in this season, like heat with the poker. Heat hurts the things in the Upside Down. That is a lore addition that we get. And in subsequent seasons, when there are wine bottles, for instance, that can do significant damage, and fire as well. Those are pretty much the 2 things that can do anything. A lot of fire wasn't able to save Bob, which is kind of sad. Let me pull up my document. So, okay, we got Nancy and Jonathan. We got Dustin and Steve.
11 in this season.
Lucas, Max. Oh, yeah. 11 and Hopper. Some people have a pretty big issue with that dynamic, because they're like, there is no good moment between the two necessarily before it gets into the rebellious phase. Like, there's not a super passionate phase is what I hear a lot. I kind of like the struggle tension because I don't think either of them have a lot of experience being in a super functional family. Especially like with what we learn about Hopper's daughter. I think, I really do like the interaction they have, even though it is pretty tense throughout. That is a moment I appreciate and think is pretty strong, even though it can be frustrating to see the two bickering the whole time. But this is the birth of the kind of Hopper 11 father-daughter thing that we get through the rest of the show. So season 2 introduces a lot of things. I also love the set pieces. I love the school bus scene when they've got the demo dogs. And Lucas, Max, Steve, and Dustin are hanging in you got the slingshots and whatever in the bus. I love the Hawkins lab bit where Bob dies. That is one of the most tense seasons in the entire show, of just like, you feel like they are trapped and you don't see much of a way out. It's quite horrifying, and you feel the stakes at this point. You don't know who's going to live or die. I absolutely love the design of the Mind Flayer. I thought it was one of the coolest things ever, and that final shot is my favorite closing shot of any season in the show, just in terms of how excited it got me for season 3 with the snowball dance. We get a little bit more on Eleven's powers, more kind of the battery idea of when she's stressed or when she's exhausted, her powers are diminished, but she can also harness anger, which we don't need that one episode to explain that. We get that in other episodes as well. She can harness anger to make her powers stronger. Heat is a weakness. We also get the Demodog idea that they are juvenile Demogorgons, which is kind of cool. I really like that. How they kind of have a pack mentality at first, and then they become kind of isolated creatures. You get more into the lore there. I think the Hawkins lab bit is really cool, and it's kind of sad for me because one thing I like about season 1 and 2 a lot are having that mysterious lab and not knowing what's going on, and when it gets shut down at the end of season 2, it's a little sad, because I think it's one of the neat aspects of the show that's just replaced by the military and Russians, which is annoying. And then the Mind Flayer that's able to possess the creatures in the Upside Down and is likely the villain. We kind of introduce a villain or a boss here. I think those are all really cool things that season 2 sets up. Season 2 sets up a lot of ideas, and it does have a lot of issues, but honestly, it is one of my favorite seasons of the show by far, which is a hot take for some reason.
Regan, what were your thoughts on season 2?
Yeah, there are just a couple things in season 2 that kind of hold it back for me. The first is where 11 starts the season. Like, I really don't like the fact that they're like, yeah, she disappeared for like 2 minutes and she's actually just fine. And 2 minutes after they left the building, she just crawls out of the Upside Down and she's totally fine. And you're going to tell me that even after all that time, they never figured out that she was still out there? Like, that's a little dumb to me. And I just don't like how they set up like the Hopper 11 dynamic because of that, because she's like hanging out in the woods and he somehow finds out that she's out there. I feel like they could have handled that a little better. The other big thing for me is Will. Like, I love Will in the first 3 episodes because he's dealing with the trauma of being trapped in the Upside Down for like 2 weeks or whatever, and people are calling him Zombie Boy, and he's getting bullied even more, and it's not even because he's gay, because he didn't even know it in season 2.
The Duffers knew the whole time.
No,
I'm just kidding.
There are a couple things. I don't know. There's like 2 things that happened in season 2 where I think they might have been planning it.
Don't they call him a queer and he gets like really offended?
In season 1.
That's in season 1.
That's in season 1.
Yeah. Season 1, it's him being made
They
fun
mentioned
of.
it in season 1, so it's definitely something
crazy.
they'd been building up towards. Yeah.
Yeah, but after he gets possessed by the Mind Flayer in this season, which is indirectly Bob's fault, which is kind of sad, but
shout out Bobby's a saint.
After Will gets possessed, it deletes his character. He just becomes a possessed person, and the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get possessed.
That is what happens when you get possessed.
Yeah, I know, but it just robs him of any opportunity to be developed further in the season, and
he's
so
possessed for most of it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Anything.
I just don't like it.
But it's
like,
so essential to season 2.
Will is gone from season 1. We don't know the dynamic between him and the D&D group, and then we only get a little taste of that in season 2 before he's like possessed. So,
but when you're introducing a character that does possession, you need to establish that. I don't know what other character you would necessarily possess.
Yeah, it's
just
true.
Like such an essential part, and supposedly, you know, because the Duffers planned every single thing.
No, they didn't.
They did not.
Yeah, but you know, that's what the internet likes to act like, and that's what they like to act like they say and whatever. That season 2 is essential for setting up the ideas in season 5, and I'm like, well, fine.
I don't know about that.
But not just season 5. I think 3 and 4 as well.
3 and 4 for 3, I'm like super reasonable. 4, okay, but when the Duffers were like, you need to watch these episodes of season 2, like The Spy in season 2, to understand pivotal stuff in season 5, I'm like, well, okay, it doesn't feel planned, but it is one of those things where I think the possession of Will Byers is like non-negotiable. Like, it has to.
Yeah,
happen
it definitely is. Like, I'm sad that it has to happen to him, and I understand from a story reason why it is. It's just, for me, I wish we could have gotten more of like Will as a character.
I agree. He's such a, like, He's just the kid that things happen to. And so when season 3 rolls around, he just barely has anything to do in that season because he's no longer the punching bag for the Upside Down. So it just kind of feels like he's a non-character at that point. And say what you will about season 5, but that's really the first time where I was actually kind of engaged with Will as a character.
Yeah.
I feel like they gave him things to do.
He gets more things to do because of the fans complaining about him not having things to do.
Yeah, he's just like a punching bag for the first couple of seasons, and I kind of agree that I wish he had a little bit more to do throughout the whole show. So
you forget he still has things to do, though. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Give it to the Duffers. They do read the r/Stranger Things to figure out what they want to happen in their show.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
good with that.
And then I don't want to beat this dead horse too much, but definitely the 8 episode. Like when I watched that when I was binging it.
Oh, I don't watch it.
I was thinking to myself, like, I feel like they're setting her up to be an antagonist. Like I thought they were gonna. I thought for sure they were gonna bring 8 back in a villainous capacity in a later season, and then it just didn't happen. And
it's such a bizarre point, and honestly, I saw it the day it came out, and I just don't remember that episode. I hate it.
Did they release season 2 in one?
Yeah.
Drop. Okay. Because they didn't start doing their section thing till 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to this one with season 5. I won't even bring up my point with 8. So
one scene I also really like is the Mike and Hopper scene. I think the scene where he is yelling at Mike, I think that is one of the best acting moments I've seen in the show as well. Because that's one thing I don't think explicitly mention in season 1 is these kids are good actors, which is pretty rare for the most part. And honestly, it's kind of funny because I think later, I don't know if it's dialogue or writing, or maybe they just were better actors as kids. I feel like some of them get worse while some of them get better, but season 2 is another one where I think there's lots of really cool acting moments. I love that Mike and Hopper scene.
Actually, the acting across the board is fantastic. I think maybe the weak link is Noah Schnapp as well.
I disagree. I disagree.
He's one of the best actors.
He's possibly the best actor of the kids.
Wow. Okay. I'm surprised.
Except for maybe Dustin. I don't know. I think they're all really good.
I don't think he's bad. I think he's good where a lot of the other actors are fantastic.
Well, it's hilarious because he gets like 3 scenes a season. He doesn't get a lot in a lot of the seasons, and in the 3 seasons that they're like, all right, we need you to bawl your eyes out, he can deliver like every single time.
That's the thing.
Which is insane.
Give him a lot to say, and it's kind of hard because you're like.
And still, in those few moments, he's able to dial it up to 100, which is kind of insane.
Bro, so
that's true.
up.
Okay, I can get behind that.